The best way to find out if you can trust someone is to trust them. A quote by Ernest Hemingway. There are a lot of stories and fables that have covered the issue of trust, like this next story, The Old Lady and the Snake. Now this is a story that has been told in a lot of different variations, so I'll tell the one I know. An old lady was out for a stroll one day, and she goes to her favorite pond. When she gets to a pond, she sees a snake that is frozen. Feeling bad for the snake, the woman would wrap the snake up and take the snake home. She would then place the snake by the fireplace in order to thaw. Once the snake was in good health, he would tell the old lady he was ready to leave, so she would open the door. But on the way out of the door, the snake bit the old lady, even after her act of kindness. But afterwards, the old lady asked why, and the snake simply replied, "You knew I was a snake when you took me in." How does a story like that relate to real life? Well, that answer is simple as well. It relates in more ways than you could possibly think. March 26, 1993. The world would make way for Taty'ana Cooks. She would be born to parents Myra Cooks and Saquon Iraman. The place they called home would be Alexandria, Virginia, a city with a population of just over 155,000 people. Alexandria is a place known for its rich history, with many historic homes, churches, businesses, and museums, but it's most recently known for being featured as a filming site for TV's The Walking Dead. For the average visitor, Alexandria is a place to take selfies and experience history, but for the natives like Taty'ana, it was simply home. At a young age, Taty'ana is described as someone who was sweet, caring, someone who enjoyed doing the girly things, such as playing dress up or doing makeup. Her teachers describe her as a kind spirit, a student who is eager to learn, but also achieve things. As time began to pass and she grew into a teenager, she would spend those years at T.C. Williams High School. While attending, her infectious laugh and radiant smile would quickly garner the attention of other students, and making friends was easy because people naturally gravitated towards her. She would ultimately graduate and then begin to navigate life as an adult. After school, Taty'ana decided to go into the medical field, where she would study healthcare at both Virginia Community College and Park University. Fast forward years later, and Taty'ana is now 28 years old. At this age, she's described as the life of the party, someone you could count on. Her family describes her as a pillar of strength for family and friends, a person you could truly count on, a person who touched countless hearts, and her generosity and compassion, as well as her selflessness, made her a true hero. 28 would be an important year for Taty'ana, because she would come to find that she was about to bring another life into this world. Her and her then boyfriend, Brendan White, would bring a son into this world, whom they would name Bo. Upon entering this world, Bo would become Taty'ana's entire existence. She would always make sure that he was well taken care of and felt loved. Sadly, by the time Bo was 1 year old, the relationship between his parents had ran its course. By age 30, Taty'ana Cooks had decided to break it off with the father of her child. In normal situations, after a split, people go their separate ways. At age 30, Taty'ana owned her own home, which she had purchased years before. She shared that home with her son alongside of her boyfriend. But now that they've decided to go their separate ways, he doesn't have anywhere to go. And with Taty'ana having such a big heart, she decided to let him stay until he could get on his feet and find another place. A little more time has passed, and the date is now March 21st of 2024. Taty'ana is 30, going on 31. She was especially excited around this time because her birthday was coming up. This year, she had planned to go out of town with her family, but on this date of March 21st of 2024, she would fail to pick up her son from daycare. Her next of kin would be notified, and her family would go pick up her son. But while picking him up, they knew immediately that something wasn't right. Around 9 p.m., the authorities would be dispatched to the 122nd block of Stevenson Court, where Taty'ana resided. When the authorities arrived to her home, along with her family, they would come to find that her purse was there and her wallet, but her cell phone and her car were missing. In a normal situation, when a car is missing, the authorities think maybe they just went off for some alone time. But with her purse and wallet still being at the home, that's a cause for concern. But also a cause for concern is that her ex-boyfriend Brendan White also isn't at the home, making the situation even more suspicious. On the night of March 21st, the authorities would complete the paperwork and begin the search. But by the end of the night, there was still no word from Taty'ana. By early morning of Friday, March 22nd of 2024, the authorities would still be working her case. In the midst of investigating, they would realize that this day was trash pickup day. And if any type of evidence leading to her whereabouts was in the garbage, it would be lost in the landfill. So the authorities would quickly hop up and go and track down the garbage truck. By the time they caught up with the sanitation department, they were lucky. They had just picked up the trash from her neighborhood. So the authorities stopped the truck and began searching. At this point in time, the authorities were only looking for the garbage bags that may have been collected from her home for evidence. But while searching, they would come across a dark-colored suitcase. After observing the item, they would attempt to remove it, but they would realize that the suitcase had weight to it. At that moment, the officers would decide to take a peek inside. But once opening the suitcase, they would realize that they were looking at the body of a deceased victim. A stop that was meant to be a normal stop to collect evidence has now turned into a full-on homicide investigation. The CSI unit would tape off the area and get to work, and then they would transport the victim to the coroner's office. When the victim arrived at the medical examiner and an autopsy was performed, the body would be identified as 30-year-old Taty'ana Cooks. The cause of death was due to strangulation. During the investigation, authorities would recover Ring doorbell footage from a neighbor's home. And inside of this footage, Brendan White was carrying a suitcase out of the home. With this footage, they know who the culprit is. They know exactly who took the life of Taty'ana. Now the only thing to do is to catch him. It wouldn't take long for the authorities to catch up with 28-year-old Brendan White. In fact, he would be captured on the same day that Taty'ana Cooks was found. On Friday, March 22nd of 2024, he would be observed driving Taty'ana Cooks' car. Once spotted, he would be pulled over and taken into custody. He is currently incarcerated at the local jail, awaiting his trial.
Right now at 6, a woman found dead in a trash truck in Northern Virginia. Now a former Newport newsman is charged with her death.
Investigative reporter Chris Horn is here with the latest on this case tonight. Chris?
Tom, Brendan Devon White's last known address here in Hampton Roads was in a Newport News apartment complex near Jefferson Avenue. That was until a few years ago. Police in Northern Virginia list his current address as the same as the victim, Taty'ana Cooks. 28-year-old Brendan White was arrested Friday afternoon, charged with killing Taty'ana Cooks. Police in Woodbridge say Cooks didn't show up to get her child from daycare. Their investigation led to White, who police describe as her acquaintance. Police say White was driving her car when he was arrested Friday.
To be in their vehicle, that's even just like, wow, you know, the audacity. Yeah, it's a lot of call.
Freddie Gonzalez lives in the Cottage Grove Apartments in Newport News, right down the street from where White used to live.
To hear that there was a possible murder suspect picked up here, it's kind of like I said, astounding, because you never know who's around you. Yeah. And you can't judge a book by its cover.
And the man who lives in White's old home didn't want to go on camera, but told us he still gets White's mail. Prince William County Police say they found Cooks's body in a trash truck near her Woodbridge home and listed White's current address at the same location.
The best way to find out if you can trust someone is to trust them. An old lady was out for a stroll one day, and she goes to her favorite pond. When she gets to a pond, she sees a snake that is frozen.
People along Stevenson Court in Woodbridge are mourning the loss of 30-year-old Taty'ana Cooks. No one wanted to speak on camera, but Prince William County Police Lieutenant Jonathan Perot tells WUSA 9, thanks to family members speaking up, they were quickly able to arrest 28-year-old Brendan White in this case.
We do applaud the family for notifying us quickly when they realized something was possibly the matter.
Feeling bad for the snake, the woman would wrap the snake up and take the snake home. She would then place the snake by the fireplace in order to thaw.
White faced charges of strangulation and kidnapping 5 years ago in Newport News, but those charges are set aside for now. We've reached out to his defense attorney at the time to find out why. We will update this story on wavy.com. Chris Horn, 10 in your side.
Once the snake was in good health, he would tell the old lady he was ready to leave, so she would open the door. But on the way out of the door, the snake bit the old lady, even after her act of kindness. The old lady asked why, and the snake simply replied, "You knew I was a snake when you took me in." When it comes to the story of the old lady and the snake, what do you think that story is portraying? What is the overall message? Is the message about the snake and how you shouldn't take in someone you already know has the potential to be lethal? We were all taught growing up to steer clear of danger, especially immediate danger. The lady knew that when she took the snake home, the snake was a threat, but sometimes being a kind soul can turn around to haunt you. In the end, after caring for the snake, feeding the snake turned around and he bit her. And you would think that the moral of the story is common sense, but look a little deeper, because that story is more about the person, the woman who had a big heart. Although she knew there was a clear danger, her big heart allowed her to look past it and take the snake home to care for it. But in the end, like a snake does, he bit her, even after she showed so much compassion. The snake in this story only plays a supporting role because the main character is the old lady, the person with the big heart. And if you ask me, that story is more about watching who you trust, watching who you give your time to. She was forced to make a decision to either let the snake remain there and be frozen, or take it home to save it. The point is, you shouldn't have to make a choice. If you're in a friendship, a relationship, or even if it's just family ties, if you have to think about whether someone needs to be in your life or not, then the answer is an automatic no. You shouldn't have to think. We have all heard the saying, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. The lady knew it was a snake, and she was bit. Just like some people know they're either in a relationship or a friendship that's toxic. But having a big heart can often lead to procrastination, and sometimes it happens to turn fatal.
She's the epitome of a daughter. She's the epitome of a sister, a niece, an aunt, a cousin. She's the epitome of a very, very good friend. I wish I would have got that last hug from you. But it's okay though. Everybody have a time and place, and it's not up to us. Everybody does. I just want to tell you I love you so much, and I'm hurting as a father. But Myra, I cannot imagine what you're going through. And I've been hearing like people like this side of the family, that side of the family. Nah, it's one unit, one nucleus. Y'all have a good day.
What happened to Taty'ana Cooks is truly a sad story. She was taken out by the hands of someone she cared about, someone she once loved. As far as a motive for this case, there isn't one known, because Brendan White isn't talking to the authorities. But in my opinion, a motive isn't hard to find, because the truth of the matter is, he's a bum. He didn't have a car, a job, nor did he have his own place. In fact, at that point in his life, he had basically hit the lottery. He had a woman with her head on right, someone who worked and had her own place, and was able to be a provider for him. And in the end, her big heart would also become her downfall. Now again, I stated, a motive isn't known, but in my opinion, I feel like on that night, that was probably just the last straw. She was probably getting ready to throw him out in the street, and with nowhere to go, he reacted. Or, in another situation, maybe he was still love-struck and wanted to work things out, but realized on that night that Taty'ana had fully moved on. We as people can speculate, and we can come up with theory after theory, but the truth is, only two people know what happened in that home on that night, and one of them isn't here to tell their side of the story. And the most heartbreaking part of this story is her son Bo is now left without a mother, but he has also lost his father due to incarceration. It's truly a tragic story. Rest in peace, Taty'ana Cooks. Thank you for being a light for others. I truly hope you receive the justice that you deserve.